Hello, Bronwyn Lund from BronHolm Tours here. I'm on the island of Bornholm, and I'm actually in the middle of the island in the state forest called Almindingen. And we're actually up for a fantastic autumnal walk today, so I really hope you enjoy the tour. Almindingen is the third largest state forest in the country of Denmark, and it's in the middle of the island of Bornholm, which sits in the Baltic Sea. And right in front of us here is an escarpment that is called Ekkodalen, or the Ekkodale. And it's fairly obvious why it's called that. It's because if you shout, you will actually get an echo of those rocks. I have done a winter walk of this area, and there I do actually make a complete fool of myself and shout to get an echo. So if you want to understand a little bit more about the way Danes shout for an echo compared to the way Australians shout for an echo, then check out that video. The reason I do these walks is for people who either can't get to the island of Bornholm or can't get around the island. And that's really because it's not an easy island to get to, and being right in the middle of the Baltic Sea. And there are very many beautiful walking paths around the island, but you have to have a high level of mobility in order to be able to walk many of them. So my hope is that people who either can't get to the island or can't get around the island will get some value out of these films. I'm also finding that a lot of people who have ancestors that come from Bornholm and live in other countries are really enjoying these videos. So if you're watching this video and you've really enjoyed it, it would be really enjoyable for me to have some comments and some explanations about why you enjoyed the video. So don't be shy. Let me know what you think, and any constructive feedback is always really welcome. So we're walking along the dale of Ekkodalen now, the Ekkodale. And what we're actually going to do is we're going to cross across the dale and walk around the base of a castle ruin. And the castle was a Viking fortress. So the position has been there for over 1,000 years. And the castle is called Gamleborg, or Old Castle, I guess, is how you would translate it into English. So the castle was originally built by the Viking kings to protect their interests on Bornholm, and it was built in the middle of the island because that made the entire defence strategy accessible from all over the island. Later on, the castle was actually abandoned because it just became too large and unwieldy to manage, and a smaller castle was built about half a kilometre away in that direction over to our left, and that's called Lilleborg, or Little Castle. And that castle was built to protect the king's interests on Bornholm, because at the time this part of Denmark was a part of the church's property, and it was a part of the bishopric of Lund, which is actually now in Sweden. Lund was lost to the Swedes in one of the many wars that Denmark and Sweden have had. But Bornholm has always been returned back to the Danish crown, and the last time it was returned back to the Danish crown was in 1645, so it's been a part of Denmark for a very, very long time. Part of what we'll be walking through, which is actually this part here, is privately owned land with public footpaths through it. So this is actually grazing land, and occasionally over in the field in front of us we might see cows, but I think they've been put away for the winter now because we actually had our first night of frost last night where it got down to about 0 degrees. So we're crossing the Dale now, and I'm feeling very fortunate that I chose to wear my wellies today, my gum boots, because the path is very muddy. We've had a lot of rain. So we just stop for a few minutes and look down the Dale back towards the rock escarpment and enjoy the sounds of the forest. So up ahead of us and through the trees you can see the ruin of Gamleborg. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk around the base just so that we can get a feel for the strategic position of this castle and just how high up and how much of a vantage point the defenders of the castle had if it ever came under attack. And the thing to remember here is that Gamleborg was never taken, it was never conquered, it was abandoned. So it was a pretty formidable defence fortress. You've probably worked out by now that it's autumn. We're seeing some really lovely autumnal colours in the forest at the moment. If you want to see Gamleborg in more detail, I have actually done a couple of walks of the castle ruin. The castle ruin is actually set up so that you can walk around the embankments in a circle where the battlements would have been. And I've done one walk clockwise and the other walk anti-clockwise. And if you look up to the left, you can actually get a feel for the sheer height of where the castle was. It was up on top of those rocks. So it would have been pretty difficult to attack the castle with only the weapons that you had in Viking times. So there was no cannon and there was no siege engines. It was all human endeavour that would conquer a castle back in those days. So we're coming back into the National Forest now, leaving the paddock, and we're actually still following the base of the castle ruin around, but in another 30 metres or so we'll actually leave that behind us and walk through some beautiful forest to the Hans Rømer Memorial and finish the walk there. So once again you can look straight up to the sheer sides of the escarpment that the battlements would have been built on, and the walls were very, very high, 6 metres high, so it would have been a really formidable castle back in the day, and must have been an enormous effort to build it. just up ahead of us is a clearing, and that is a park that has been preserved in memory of Hans Rømer. So we have a little working wagon here. It's the forestry department. Guess they're doing some forestry work. And over here is an old hunting lodge, which has now just been converted simply into a place to have a picnic. It's a sheltered picnic spot. And normally, yep, you can come inside. Not sure how well the camera will cope with the lack of light, but it's just a lovely little place to come and have a picnic. And the thing I love about this place is there's no graffiti, there's no smell of someone who's used it for undesirable purposes, and it's just left in peace and unlocked for people to use whenever they feel that they need to come and have a picnic. Hi. In 1821 there was absolutely no trees in front of us. And that was when Hans Rømer, who was a 30-year-old forester, began his work to preserve the forest. And he actually built a 10-kilometre long stone wall around Almindingen to stop cows and other grazing animals entering the forest and eating the trees. And that actually meant that he created quite a few enemies in terms of working with the farmers. But he persevered, and the result is the forest that we've just been walking through. The only thing he did do was he built the walls from the stones of the castle ruin of Lilleborg. So even though he, wanted to do the right thing and had his heart in the right place, he did actually take apart some quite important medieval castle ruins in order to preserve the forest. So it's always a balance, isn't it? Whether to take something apart that has historical significance to preserve something else. I don't think it's ever an easy choice, and even when you have made the choice, it doesn't mean that it's easy to carry it out. So here is the monument to Hans Rømer, the man who made this place possible for us to walk around and enjoy today. And he lived from 1800 to 1836. So that was an autumn tour of Almindingen. I hope you enjoyed it. We went through Ekkodalen and then around the base of Gamleborg Castle, and ended up in the memorial park for Hans Rømer. And I think you will agree that this is an absolutely beautiful forest. If you enjoyed the video, please don't hesitate to like, comment, share, and if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. It goes a long way to the success of the channel. this is Bronwyn Lund from BronHolm Tours, signing off. Bye for now.